The story opens on a quiet two-lane road cutting through a sleepy rural town in the South. It's the kind of place where everyone knows everyone else and where strangers, especially black ones, draw immediate attention. Elise Monroe, a poised black woman in her 40s, is behind the wheel of a rented SUV, dressed in a plain hoodie and jeans. She's driving alone, sipping coffee, and reviewing mental notes about her assignment. Unknown to the town and the officers, about to stop her, Elise is no ordinary traveler. She's the director of the FBI, traveling incognito on a classified internal investigation. As she slows down to obey a speed limit sign, red and blue lights flash in her rearview mirror. Two local officers, Officer Rourke and Deputy Hensley, approach her vehicle. Their manner is cocky and condescending from the start. "License and registration," Rourke demands, without a greeting. Elise calmly provides it. "May I ask what I'm being pulled over for?" she inquires. That question, reasonable as it is, triggers an escalation. Rourke rolls his eyes. "Suspicious driving," he replies vaguely. Hensley circles the SUV like he's hunting something. Elise knows the game. They're profiling her, waiting for a reaction. When she remains calm and composed, that seems to annoy them more. Without cause, they ask her to step out of the vehicle. Elise hesitates but complies. When she reaches for her phone to notify the FBI field office as protocol, Hensley grabs her arm roughly and yells, "Stop resisting!" Though she does no such thing, she's slammed onto the hood and handcuffed in full view of passing cars. The indignity continues at the small-town precinct. Elise is booked like any common criminal. Her fingerprints are taken, her mugshot snapped. In the background, officers laugh and make mocking comments. Another one trying to act important, one says. "Bet she's got a YouTube channel," another quips. Elise says nothing. Her silence unnerves them a little, but not enough to stop. She's placed in a holding cell, her dignity intact despite the humiliation. When she finally gets her phone call, she dials a secure number. The officer watching her scoffs when he hears her calmly say, "This is Monroe. Connect me to Deputy Director Banks, priority clearance." The room quiets slightly, but the officer still assumes she's bluffing. Back. In her cell, Elise closes her eyes and breathes. She's dealt with worse. She knows the moment of revelation is coming, but she also knows it's going to expose something much larger than two bad cops. Her presence in the town wasn't random. She'd been investigating corruption rumors in the local police department. What she didn't expect was to become living proof of just how deep the rot went. Outside the precinct, unmarked black SUVs begin pulling into town. Cliffhanger. As an officer brings her a sandwich and smirks, Elise looks up and says quietly, but clearly, "You just made the biggest mistake of your career." The officer scoffs again. "Yeah? Why's that?" She leans forward and answers, "Because I run the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And I remember faces." The smirk vanishes. Fade to black. The morning sun rises over the small-town courthouse, a modest brick building with a rusted flagpole and a handful of benches outside. Inside, the courtroom is already buzzing with quiet laughter and smug whispers. News of the uppity black woman who claimed to be someone important has spread like wildfire through the precinct. Officers who weren't even on duty the night before have shown up just to see the spectacle. To them, this is entertainment. Elise Monroe is led into the courtroom in handcuffs, still dressed in the same casual clothes she was wearing when she was arrested. Despite the indignity of her situation, she carries herself with calm and authority. Her face is unreadable, her posture unshaken. The court bailiff, clearly in on the joke, smirks as he escorts her in front of the judge, presiding over the case. Is Judge Gerald Langston, a longtime figure in the community known for his impatience and old-school views. He doesn't even look up when the clerk reads the charges: obstruction of justice, resisting arrest, and failure to comply. The prosecutor, a young white man with slicked back hair and overconfidence to match, stands and begins to speak. With mock seriousness, "Your Honor, the defendant displayed aggressive behavior, questioned police authority, and get this claim to be the director of the FBI." That line draws chuckles from several uniformed officers in the back of the courtroom. Elise remains quiet, eyes focused on the judge. When asked if she has legal representation, she calmly replies, "My office is sending someone. In the meantime, I'll represent myself." "Of course you will," the judge mutters, barely hiding his disdain. Let the record show the defendant believes she's qualified to practice law as well. Elise stands, slowly and deliberately. "Let the record show," she begins in a steady voice, "that I am Elise Monroe, Director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I was in town conducting a covert review of this department's conduct. What I experienced only confirmed the complaints we've received." The laughter intensifies. One officer mutters, "Hollywood's getting to her head." Another whispers, "Mental health check, anyone?" The judge, now visibly annoyed, bangs his gavel. Enough. This court has no time for fantasies or delusions of grandeur. If you can't prove who you are, you'll be held until your hearing next week. Just then, the heavy wooden doors to the courtroom swing open. A man in a black suit, earpiece in his ear, strides in quickly and whispers something urgent into the judge's ear. Judge Langston's expression changes almost instantly, from dismissive to confused to pale. The courtroom falls silent. "Excuse me?" The judge asks, incredulous. The suited man repeats, "She's telling the truth. She is the director of the FBI. We have her ID, her biometric match, and confirmation from D.C. headquarters. She was here on official business." You could hear a pin drop. The smirking prosecutor suddenly looks like he swallowed a wasp. Several of the laughing officers shift uncomfortably. The judge swallows hard and leans back in his chair. Elise finally allows herself a small, sharp smile. "Shall we continue, Your Honor?" she asks. Cliffhanger. The suited agent turns toward the courtroom and announces, "By order of the director, all officers involved in harassment are to be detained for federal review effective immediately." The atmosphere in the courtroom is now heavy with stunned silence. Just moments ago, laughter and arrogance echoed through the chamber. Now everyone from the judge to the officers lining the back wall looks pale, tense, and deeply unsettled. The smug expressions are gone, replaced with wide eyes and dry mouths. The man in the black suit, clearly a high-ranking federal agent, stands tall and imposes order with just his presence. Judge Langston adjusts his glasses and clears his throat. "You're telling me this woman is really the director of the FBI?" The agent nods. "Yes, sir. Director Elise Monroe." Confirmed by D.C. Command Center and cross-checked through facial recognition. Her arrest was not only unwarranted, it interfered with an ongoing classified investigation. The judge slowly turns to look at Elise, who stands unshackled now, arms crossed, eyes cold and unflinching. It's the first time most in the room are truly seeing her, not as the woman in handcuffs, but as someone with undeniable authority. The same officers who jeered at her hours ago now shift their eyes to the floor or the exit. The courtroom bailiff, visibly sweating, reaches for a water bottle with shaking hands. Elise finally steps forward to speak. Her voice is calm, but her tone leaves no room for argument. "This was not a traffic stop. This was a targeted humiliation based on the color of my skin. I was arrested for being out of place in your town. Not for breaking the law, but for daring to exist without fear." The judge tries to interrupt, but Elise holds up a hand, and he shockingly lets her speak. I came here to assess complaints of racial profiling, abuse of authority, and illegal search and seizure within this department. I had hoped to conduct that investigation discreetly, but your officers made sure that wouldn't happen. So now this will be public. The suited federal agent steps in again. Director Monroe has invoked immediate oversight authority. As of this moment, the officers involved in her unlawful arrest are to be detained and transported to the nearest federal holding facility for investigation. The courtroom gasps. Officer Rourke, the arresting officer, turns red. You can't do that. I didn't know who she was. Elise turns to him, her stare sharp. You didn't need to know who I was. You just needed to treat me like a human being. But you couldn't even manage that. Federal agents appear at the back of the courtroom and begin calling out names. Officer Rourke, Deputy Hensley, Officer Taylor. Please come with us. The officers protest, some stumbling over their words, others trying to defend themselves, but it's too late. The crowd watches as the same cops who laughed at Elise are now being escorted out in handcuffs, just like they had done to her. Judge Langston clears his throat again, clearly shaken. Director Monroe, I sincerely apologize on behalf of this court. She cuts him off. Save your apology, Judge. You didn't question the narrative. You laughed with them. You were part of the problem. Now I'll make sure you're reviewed too. Cliffhanger. Elise walks out of the courtroom without looking back as the sound of federal agents reading rights to the officers echoes behind her. Outside, cameras are already waiting and Elise steps into the spotlight. Within hours of Elise Monroe's courtroom reveal, the sleepy town is no longer sleepy. A fleet of unmarked black SUVs and federal vans descends on the local police department like a sudden storm. Armed but professional FBI agents spill into the building with precision and urgency, locking down the premises. No one is allowed to leave, not without answering questions. Inside the precinct, panic spreads like wildfire. Officers scramble to figure out what's happening, but no one is in charge anymore. The police chief, Harold Cutter, a long-time good, all boy with a reputation for looking the other way, storms out of his office demanding answers, only to be politely but firmly informed that he is now under investigation and must surrender his badge, firearm, and access to department systems. On whose authority? He barks. The lead FBI agent hands him a signed federal warrant. Director Monroe's. The chief's jaw drops. Throughout the department, agents begin seizing body cam footage, dash cam drives, personnel files, and internal communications. Every racist joke typed into a work email, every ignored complaint, every questionable arrest record is now evidence. The walls that once protected the officers are falling fast. Elise, now in a crisp black suit and flanked by her security detail, walks calmly through the building she was once paraded through in handcuffs. Officers turn their eyes away as she passes. Some are visibly shaken, others are defiant. A few, realizing how serious the situation is, look deeply regretful. In one corner, Officer Mills, a young rookie cop who had witnessed Elise's arrest, but said nothing at the time, steps forward. Director Monroe? He says, nervously. She turns. Yes? I knew something was off yesterday. I didn't laugh. I didn't join in. I just didn't know what to do. I'm sorry. There's a pause. Elise studies him. He's young, early 20s, with the look of someone caught between peer pressure and a moral compass. I remember you, she says quietly. You didn't escalate. You didn't speak up either. But you have a chance to now. I want to cooperate. I want to help clean this place up, Mills says. Eyes steady. Elise nods. Then start by telling the truth. Everything you saw. Everything you've been told to ignore. Mills agrees and Elise turns back to the task at hand. In the command room, her analysts are uncovering damning data. Dozens of traffic stops targeting minorities with no probable cause. Civilian complaints buried. Internal affairs reports never followed up. Elise takes it all in, her expression hardening. What she had feared was true. This wasn't a few bad cops. This was a broken system protected by silence and routine. Later. That afternoon, she stands before the department staff and issues a direct warning. Reform is coming. You can either stand with it or be crushed under it. I won't allow this kind of injustice to hide behind a badge anymore. Not in this town. Not on my watch. Cliffhanger. As Elise walks out of the precinct, her assistant hands her a report. It contains evidence that Judge Langston may have deliberately dismissed multiple civil rights cases. Elise looks up and says coldly, "Looks like the courthouse is next." By the next morning, the story has exploded across national news. Cable networks loop the same headline over and over. FBI director arrested while black local officers now under federal investigation. Clips of Elise Monroe being led into court in handcuffs, juxtaposed with footage of her striding out in a tailored FBI suit, circulate like wildfire. Social media erupts. Hashtags like hashtag Director Monroe, hashtag profiling power, and hashtag justice in plain sight trend globally. Civil rights leaders, public officials, and everyday citizens flood the internet with outrage and support. Outside the courthouse, a massive crowd gathers. Some come in protest, holding signs that read, "End police abuse, she could be me, and reform now." Others arrive to see history unfold. Local media, national reporters, and even international outlets set up cameras, anticipating a statement. The small-town courthouse has become the eye of a political and cultural storm. Inside, Judge Langston prepares for the day with a trembling hand. He's received official notice from the Department of Justice. He's being placed under preliminary review for bias and misconduct. Whispers suggest he may be disbarred. His once iron grip on the local justice system is crumbling, and he knows it. At noon, Director Elise Monroe steps onto the courthouse steps, flanked by agents and aides. The crowd hushes. Cameras zoom in. Microphones are thrust forward. But Elise doesn't speak with anger. Her voice is calm, steady, and commanding. "I came to this town quietly to investigate complaints that too many others ignored. I was not looking for attention. I was looking for answers. What I found instead was confirmation that systemic injustice still thrives when we let it." She lets the silence settle for a moment before continuing. "Being black should never be probable cause. Being powerful should not be the only protection. I am the director of the FBI, but yesterday none of that mattered. To those officers, I was just another black woman in the wrong place, and they treated me accordingly." Murmurs ripple through the crowd. She continues, "This wasn't just about me. It's about every innocent person who has ever been profiled, arrested, silenced, or ignored without the benefit of cameras, titles, or federal clearance. That ends now. This department will be restructured. This town will be monitored. And those who allowed this culture to thrive, judges, prosecutors, officers, will be held accountable." The crowd breaks into applause. Some cheer. Others cry. Elise doesn't bask in it. She simply nods, her job not yet done. Across town, Police Chief Harold Cutter announces his resignation live on local news. He claims he's retiring, but the truth is obvious: his legacy is destroyed. Several officers under investigation have already lawyered up. Others have quietly resigned. In D.C., the Attorney General holds a press briefing, praising Elise's leadership and reaffirming the administration's support for full accountability. Elise has become more than a federal official, she's now a national symbol of strength and justice. Cliffhanger. Back inside the courthouse, Elise receives a sealed envelope. Inside is a whistleblower report, evidence that similar abuses are happening in 3 other towns nearby. Elise's expression darkens. She turns to her assistant and says, "We're not done here. We're just getting started." Weeks have passed since the day Elise Monroe revealed her true identity in that small-town courtroom, shaking the foundation of a corrupt local justice system. The world moved fast after that, but Elise hasn't forgotten where it began. Now, the once quiet town is undergoing a transformation. Federal oversight remains in place. The old police department, once a haven for unchecked abuse, is under full restructuring. Uniformed officers now wear body cameras, and mandatory civil rights training is in full swing. New hiring standards are introduced, and background checks on existing officers are more thorough than ever before. At the center of the reform is Chief Delilah Brooks, a respected black law enforcement veteran brought in from out of state. Known for cleaning up broken departments and standing firm on community policing, Chief Brooks is both admired and feared. She immediately fires several remaining officers linked to misconduct and begins holding public forums to rebuild trust. At the same time, Judge Langston is formally suspended pending a full judicial review. Civil rights attorneys have reopened dozens of cases he presided over, many of which show a pattern of biased rulings. Protesters still line the courthouse steps, but their signs now read, "Thank you, Elise, and justice lives here." The community, once divided by fear and silence, is starting to speak. Church leaders, business owners, teachers, and parents gather weekly to hold the system accountable. The change isn't just coming from above, it's growing from within. On a warm Friday afternoon, Elise returns to the town not as the subject of headlines, but as a quiet observer. She walks down the same courthouse steps where she once stood, in handcuffs. This time, she wears no badge, no suit, just a simple blouse and slacks. She blends in with the crowd, watching from a distance. She sees something that stops her, a group of children playing on the courthouse lawn. One of them, a young black girl with curly hair and a notebook in hand, notices Elise and walks up to her. "Are you the lady from TV?" The girl asks, shy but curious. Elise smiles warmly. "That depends. What did the lady on TV do?" She told the truth. "And didn't let the bad guys win," the girl replies, beaming. Elise kneels down to her level. "Then maybe I am." The girl looks around, then asks, "Can I be like you one day?" Elise places a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You can be better than me. Just remember, never let anyone tell you who you are. Know it for yourself." The girl nods, proud and inspired. Elise stands and watches her run back to her friends. Later that evening, Elise attends a quiet town hall hosted by Chief Brooks. The room is filled with townspeople, black, white, young, old, listening, sharing, healing. Brooks speaks with authority but also hope. "We are not erasing the past," she says. "We are learning from it and building something better." Elise doesn't speak at the event. She doesn't need to. Her presence alone reminds them of how far they've come and how much further they have to go. Final scene. Elise walks alone through the town square as the sun sets. She looks around at the courthouse, the precinct, the people. She exhales deeply. Justice wasn't just served. It was reclaimed. Closing line. The town had tried to break her. Instead, she broke its silence.